Let's light up the night.
Now, we're live from the Untold Radio Network. It's Untold Radio AM with Monster Quest producer, host Doug Hychek, and co-host Jeff Perella Jr. Untold Radio AM is going live right now.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, welcome. And hello, a beautiful Untold Radio audience.
Yes.
Not just normal, beautiful. We have another packed episode.
Yeah, be a good show.
Episode 237, I believe.
237, yep.
Can't believe I've done that many of them.
That's crazy. That's a lot.
That's a lot. Trying to think here. We had a kind of a weird, almost surreal experience. Jeff went with me to the DMV to get some tabs.
Yeah.
And it was surreal because everybody was smiling.
Smiling, happy, helpful, positive. The whole everyone in there. I thought I was in the Twilight Zone.
Yeah. I've never experienced it.
Yeah. And we've been in that same one twice, and the same thing. Everyone in there was smiling, happy, positive, helpful.
We walked in, and that one guy goes, "Hey!"
Yeah, he recognized. I mean, it's I've been to a lot of DMVs. That's the best one by.
Yeah,
not even close.
We're not going to tell anybody.
Quiet. Our secret.
Yeah. Anyhow, and then I left my phone.
Yeah.
So Jeff calls. He goes, "Oh, I'll call your phone." Figuring it's in the car somewhere. Nope, it doesn't ring. All of a sudden it answers. It's the DMV.
Yeah, the guy had enough sense to answer it, and it was just super helpful. Unbelievably good DMV.
So anyway, I felt so at home there. I left my phone.
Yeah.
That's how it works. Anyhow, what do we got going on? We have an amazing guest. We have Albert Rosales, and he is like one of my heroes. Because I would read his case studies and reports like when the internet was brand new.
Sure.
I mean, literally.
He's got a ton of them. Holy smokes.
Like he's a pioneer.
Mountains of data.
Yeah. Oh, you have no idea.
Mountains and mountains of data. Yeah.
How much data he has. How many books does he have out? It's like 4 or 5.
At least that. 5 or 6, maybe more. I don't remember. It was a lot. He's written a lot of books.
Did you manage to grab some of his covers for later on?
I did.
Oh,
yep.
Good. Anyhow,
got 3 of his favorite ones.
Anyhow, so he's a legend. He's a legend. Okay, and then we have David Ellis is going to do Tech Breakdown tonight on field recording.
Yep.
So you can hear it from the expert, what to use.
He is the expert, no question of that.
And why to use it.
Mm-hmm.
And David's from the Olympic Project. And we've got some news, clips, and we'll just kind of keep going. But I do want to mention before we get into the show, you got to see Discover Sasquatch on the Untold Radio Network. It was recorded yesterday. And it's got Tristan Yolton as the guest. But you've got to see the show because there's just so much evidence revealed. There's amazing stuff.
Check it out tonight.
And it was like I was blown away. It's amazing. I think it's episode 30 of Discover Sasquatch here on the Untold Radio Network. Also, I want to mention, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Leave a comment, too, in the comment section. It definitely really, really helps our algorithm.
Yeah, it just makes for a great show. We got such a great audience. I love the chat.
We always have a lot of chat activity, and that helps the algorithm, too. But we also would love you to leave doesn't have to be much. It can be, hello, good show. It could be terrible show. Whatever you want to write in the comment section.
Yep.
So anyhow, all right, let's get this this beast underway. Let's do it.
All right. First up is news.
Untold Radio news that can be a bit weird is right now.
Now, everybody thinks of sharks as silent killers. They don't think of sharks as making noise. They're not like dolphins or whales. But a recent discovery reveals a shark that makes sound.
Oh, pretty wild.
And I've never heard of this. Have you?
No, I have not. No.
And this shark, it's a certain type of shark. It is a ridge shark, I believe, called the ridge shark. Not familiar with them, but apparently they pop their teeth, and it sounds like balloons popping.
Interesting.
And this was a new paper published by a top ocean biologist. Let's see here. It says this is the first time scientists have recorded evidence of it's the rig, not ridge.
Rig shark. Okay.
The rig shark activity.
Not familiar with that one at all.
Yeah. Producing sounds of snapping its teeth, according to research published Tuesday in the Journal of Royal Society of Open Science. So there you go. That's the ridges on their teeth. That's why it's a ridge shark.
Yeah.
They have strange teeth.
Yeah.
You wonder why they do that. What do you think, Jeff? Why would they?
I have no idea. They don't have organs they don't really have
hearing.
They can't locate. Yeah, they don't locate with it. They have big lateral lines, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's to confuse or disorient prey. I guess I just don't know.
I don't either.
Pretty
And
wild.
it doesn't say.
Nope.
So apparently they studied 10 juvenile rig sharks, 5 males, 5 females, and they caught them off New Zealand. So that's where they live. And they have these plate-like teeth that are seen in that photo. And they used hydrophones, and apparently they recorded the first shark sounds in history. So
that's cool.
That's a cool deal.
Really cool. It's
Apparently,
amazing the stuff we keep finding out.
Yeah. We live in a crazy world. And then, speaking of crazy and of sharks, there's a thing that was spotted on the back of the shark, and they didn't know what it was, and they realized that it was an octopus taking a ride.
Hitching a ride. That's crazy.
And apparently they both look totally at home. And
just chilling.
Happy
cruising,
and chilling. And
hitchhiking.
You just wonder how long, is that shark still riding around with that octopus?
Yeah, who knows?
And are they buddies? It's kind of like Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
And they're calling it the sharktopus.
Sharktopus.
Yeah, and this was
that's pretty cool.
Also seen by people at the University of Auckland. So that's also going to be around New Zealand, correct?
Yep, Auckland's in New Zealand, yep.
Yeah. So it's with sharks in New Zealand.
There's a lot of them there.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous place to surf, I know that.
So it was the marine scientist, Rochelle Constantine, and she told the New York Times that they had seen this.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, they're saying it's particularly weird because the octopus lives at the bottom, and of course the shark doesn't. But she said they both seemed very happy.
Huh. So
there you go. And there was a clickbait article that I had to read. It caught my attention. And this is so sad. It said, did the National Weather Service capture a photo of Bigfoot during a Pennsylvania storm survey? And I'm thinking, oh, yeah. I click it. And the only photo to be found is the one I'm showing you with the standard plywood or steel cutout of a Bigfoot statue there.
Yeah.
And they literally, the article made it sound like they really caught something amazing. And I'm thinking, oh, really? Hair raising and all these words. And I'm like, yeah, right.
So are they that dumb or is it just intentional clickbait?
I think it's just clickbait. Intentional clickbait. Somebody wanted their organization. They even quote the BFRO and sightings that go back to the 1800s and la, 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 la. The figure appeared to be human-sized, if not larger, as it walked through the wooded landscape. And I'm thinking, oh God. But
if I had a bigger yard, I'm the kind of person that would probably put one of those up in
sure, well, they're fun.
yard.
But it says here, but according to the NWS meteorologist, there is no need to worry, as what was spotted was likely something purposely staged.
A sheet of plywood, yeah.
Or added, or to add a bit of fun to people's. I'm thinking, oh my God. Sad. Next. Talk about a load of crap. That's a load of crap.
Yep.
There's no journalists anymore.
No. Oh, boy, don't even get me going on that.
I know. U.S. scientists create jet fuel from sunlight, making carbon-free aviation a reality. Now, Jeff, am I stupid? But if you can create jet fuel with the sun, couldn't you create gasoline or diesel or whatever we need to run our cars on?
I believe isn't jet fuel essentially kerosene? Memory serves.
You make a car that runs on kerosene.
Sure.
Or you can refine it. I mean, you can refine kerosene and create a very... Anyhow, my point is, listen to this article. I'm just like, what? So have you ever heard of a thing called photothermos catalytic reactor? Photothermos catalytic reactor. I've never heard of such a thing.
Nope.
Well, this is what they're claiming made this fuel, right? And apparently they said everything I'm reading here, it says they did. And it's quite complicated, but it's a process that converts simple hydrocarbon molecules into longer chains, basically the essential component of jet fuel that burns. Okay. And they use something called ethylene. Oh, God, this is a big one. Oligomerization.
Oligomerization, yeah. Something like that.
Oglio. Oglio means old, I believe, in Latin. So does some kind of polymerization and creates this fuel. But apparently when it burns, it just makes water, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm thinking B is in B, S is in S. Let's move on.
Yep.
Whatever. I'll believe it when I see it. That's hopeful, though.
Yeah.
Hopeful. That's all I've got in the news. I mean, there was so much clickbait this week.
Yeah, sure. See, I thought the same thing too.
Just like nothing to dig your teeth into. It was just crap.
Yep.
Crap news. Maybe we should do a section called crap news. I'll search out the crap.
Go a long time.
Hard. It'll be really easy.
Yeah. Easiest show prep ever.
Well, let's do something fun here. Let's get into the new word of the week.
New word of the week. Here we go.
The untold word of the week is lot goal, a brand new word to basically describe a seagull that lives at a big box store or fast food restaurant parking lot. These birds prefer French fries, spilled snacks, and pizza over herring and fish. A lot gull is our new word of the week. Please don't feed the lot gulls.
Oh my
God! Public service message. That's new. I like that.
Oh, by the way, we have to thank Eric Sorensen for the photo.
Yeah.
That was at our local Walmart.
Yeah.
And of course, there's flocks of seagulls there. They're lot gulls.
Yeah.
No one's ever named them.
A lot gull. That's a pretty good name. It's accurate.
Yeah, that's so everybody remember that. So now you can tell your kids those are lot gulls. They'll be all impressed. Okay. Thank you, Eric, for that picture and the inspiration there. Oh, by the way, put that up again. Look at how the wings frame Walmart.
Perfect.
You see that?
Yep.
Perfectly framed. Anyhow, enough of that.
Enough of that crap.
Yeah, enough of that crap. What do we got next here? Oh my God.
Looks like
Oh, gee, we can, and David's there. We can get right into tech breakdown. And I see we've got Albert also in the back room. Hey, Albert. Let's bring David on. We're going to do our tech breakdown, and David's going to do it tonight.
Okay, here's the bumper. And welcome, David. There he is.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Long time no talk.
Yeah.
Not since last night, anyway.
Oh yeah, last night. Yeah. All right. I'm clicking my camera off. But David Ellis is a member of the Olympic Project, does a lot of sound analysis for many of us, all of us. You now have about over 8,500 recordings, don't you?
Yeah, some of them are repetitive, but I've got 10,000 clips and recordings. But if I pare it back, it's maybe around 8,500 that are just recordings people have sent me, and I've been able to break down and find things in their audio.
Yeah.
So
unknown sounds.
I don't know what they are. We suspect a lot of them are Bigfoot related.
By the way, David is coming to us from the space capsule, on a SpaceX capsule. Your audio is going into space once in a while. Hopefully, we'll have good audio.
Okay,
I'm gonna click off, and you take over, David. Thanks so much for doing this.
Okay, you bet.
It's important.
All right.
Go ahead, take it over.
Will you be able to show two slides at a time? The reason I ask is
I'm not sure. Never tried that before. We can try.
Okay. Let's try slide number 1. It's kind of got the bullet points of what I want to talk about. So first off, there's a way or a wrong way to do field audio recording. You're going to find that you're going to gravitate towards what you like to do and to the depth of what you like. So the type of equipment that you will need is basically how deep do you want to go into equipment. I suspect over the years, personally, I've spent at least $10,000 in the last 17, 18 years that I've been out in the field recording. So it can get expensive, and if you want to keep things, on a budget, just kind of define what your goals are. So how much it's going to cost me? It depends upon the quality of the recording that you want to get. You can get a pretty good, decent recording off of a digital recorder. Personally, I went the extra mile and got good stereo digital recorders with excellent microphones. From there, I can get a pretty good field recording. So, digital recorder is the one that I should buy. That's going to depend upon what you're trying to accomplish, and each individual their quirks and their pluses. What I ended up going for was the Adderall, and if we use the thing on the screen there, it's that one. The RO9HR is the one that I use, which is the one that's standard. The reason that I standardized on the Adderall was it had a feature that's called file splitting, or some other manufacturers call it automatic incrementing. And what that means is as it's recording, it rolls over into a new file when it reaches a certain file size, say 64 megabytes. When it hits that number, it automatically rolls in. And you will ask, well, what's so special about that? Well, what's good about that is that the software that I use to analyze my sounds only handles a certain size. Sometimes if you get a file that's, say, 150 megabytes, you're pushing the upper limits of that. So I like this because it's about every 30 minutes or so, it rolls into a new file. So when I start the recorder, I'll state the date, time, and whatnot. And then as the files build up in the recorder, I have a good idea of the time it actually is that this sound of interest happens. So I know that a lot of people have an interest in recording. You got to go the next step if you're going to get into recording, and which is sound analysis. Excuse me, I got a wife that's downstairs. Sorry about that.
I'd also say too that another benefit of the breaking up the files is it makes it easier to transfer, way easier to transfer. And if there's a corruption of some sort, you're going to corrupt instead of corrupting the whole thing. Right. You might just lose a fraction of it. So there's
exactly
other benefits too. Pretty handy.
Exactly. So as you're analyzing your sound, when you first start out, you're just listening to it. And then personally, I was alerted by my mentor, I call him. He goes by the handle of Monongahela. He taught me about spectrograms and introduced me to a software. It's called Sonic Visualizer. If you want to throw up clip number 6. That's the logo for it. If you want to do an information search on the internet, you'll find that Sonic Visualizer is a freeware, like I stated, but it once you download it and apply some of the plugins that are required for it, you will be able to review your audio visually, which gives you a totally different way of looking at the sound. It's akin to what I call a voice print or a fingerprint. It gives you that much detail. And that's where, once you start learning what a crow sounds like, or what a dog bark sounds like, or what the human voice looks like, you'll be able to pick out, okay, that's not what I'm looking for. Find some odd signatures that will tell you, hey, I really need to check into that. That looks like it's something interesting. So personally, what I do is I work with people that have had Sasquatch sightings on or near their property. And that was one of the reasons why I was able to get so many clips, is that would be recording every night for years. And so it takes thousands and thousands of hours to get things truly suspicious. But it's worth the effort. I can guarantee you that, if you decide that you want to get into audio recording.
Say, David, I have a question, David.
Sure.
The recorder that you're recommending, the main reason is the way it breaks up the file, correct?
Correct.
Doesn't, like a Zoom H1s, I have a whole bunch of Zoom H1s that I've been using. They record really excellent audio, but are the files too long with a Zoom?
I believe so,
okay.
But I could be proven incorrect. Things change over the years.
The key is no more, but the key is no more than 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's there. You can stretch it to 150 megabytes. most of the file sizes are either above or below that, and below that marker is what I chose because it's 64 megabytes is about 30 minutes with a 320 MP3 file size.
Okay.
And again, if I knew something happened within a certain time period, I would be able to figure out from the files, okay, multiply 5 times 30 minutes, and it's and it's in the 150 minutes, so it's within the first 2 hours. Kind of you find things. Say if you heard it, but you don't know when it was recorded. Now you're not sure where on your recording. So if you have some sort of a time frame parameter around what you're working with, that's better.
But the key is 164 megabytes is about as big as the sonic visualizer
Correct.
can handle. Okay.
Right.
That's the reason. What's the name of the recorder one more time?
It's Edirol, and they have several different series. Mine is R9HR. It's discontinued, but if you go on eBay, you can get it anywhere from between $100 to $50. It just
okay.
Condition. But they are rugged, and you can see by looking at it in that person's hand that it's relatively small. It fits in a shirt pocket. If you wanted to do a road walk, you could have the recorder on, and you're capturing what's going on during your road walk.
And it records in stereo.
It records in stereo, and excellent quality microphones. One more thing that I found myself getting into was editing. And I purchased a software called Spectral Layers, and that allows you to edit an audio file in a spectrogram. And what Jeff just threw up was a screenshot of something that is using a spectrogram. Excuse me. Let's see. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But we're looking at what a spectrogram shows one when they're looking at a sound print. And tell that's somebody singing because it's got sustained vocal chords. It's got numerous harmonics, and that shows me that that's a human signature. So how do you get better at it? It's practice.
And we've talked about this before, but I think it's worth repeating. One of the big benefits of it, the big benefit of this is even when things sound exactly the same to your ear, doesn't mean they're the same sound. Did I explain that pretty well? I mean,
you did it perfectly. It perfectly.
That's really important.
Yeah, there's to your ear, you will say that that was a perfect mimic, and you'll see a visual signature, and you go, well, that's two completely different things. How could I mistake that? But our ears are easily fooled. They are the receptor, but it's the brain. The brain tells you what you heard.
Yeah, I mean, our brains are pattern matching machines, so they tend to kind of fill in the gaps when.
Right.
That's the way our brains work.
Is there a certain type of sound, David, you'd like to be sent? What kind of sounds? Let's say somebody records speech. Is that something you'd want to hear?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, can you give us a laundry list of the sounds you would like to be involved in if somebody captures?
Oh, gosh. Obviously, the chatter. I like the long vocalizations, grunts, growls, moans. Just anything that sounds like that it's talking, but you can't understand what's being said.
Okay.
I've got newer sound files of that. I like drumming. There's a thing I call percussive voice that's akin to drumming, but the percussion is in a that it's trying to talk. Something's trying to talk, but they're doing it using mouth pops, clicks, and grunts and groans intermixed all together. And I've got several witnesses who have actually seen Sasquatch doing this. I had one witness that was within 30 feet of one when it did this, what I call progressive speech type sound. He didn't know that I had recorded it with other witnesses, and he heard me on a program that was talking about this particular type of vocalization, and he got on the phone the next day and said, "David, I caught you on this show, and that's exactly what I heard when I was looking at it." So it's like the hum, buzz, purr thing that we're following, where witnesses have actually seen Sasquatches make some interesting sounds.
Yeah. Once again, if somebody records a strange humming vibration sound, almost like hummingbird wings, that's a sound David's very interested in hearing himself.
Yeah, very much.
Well, great. Well, thank you, David.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, David.
It was awesome.
Okay, thanks, guys.
We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, let's get into our clips, and then we'll bring Albert on.
Okay.
This first clip, I don't remember what it is. Let's go ahead and play it. The sound is good.
Okay, give me 1 second here.
Oh,
This
yeah,
is pretty
this
wild.
is
This is pretty wild.
This guy's got guts, man. I mean, he
Oh,
goes
man.
way under the bank.
Nope. Nope. You need to have a friend you really trust right there. Holy smokes.
I could have an alligator under there. Look
No,
at this.
thank you.
Just like I saw this clip and I'm like, I got to share this. He's
whole
noodling
lot of
for
nope.
catfish, big catfish, really big catfish. He's
What do they
sticking
call
his-
that? Noodling, I think?
Noodling, yeah. He sticks his hand right in the catfish's mouth. And just pulls it out, and I believe they release them, and it's just it's a sport.
Do you like catfish? You like eating catfish?
Sure, I love it.
Dude, he was
I do
like
too.
nosing
Even
himself.
though they're a bottom
The corner
feeder,
tried
I
to
love
pull
them.
him by
Good
the
My
eating.
favorite place to
around.
eat catfish
Like
is over at
that
JD
rammed him
Hoyt,
right in the chest.
Minneapolis.
Just had to eat it.
It's amazing.
Oh.
Anyhow, that's enough. He's got a big one there. Clip 2, the sound is good. It's just a really rare caught lightning strike while the guy's driving, and it's quite spectacular.
Yep. Oh, sorry. 1 second here. Making my little glitchy here. Here we go. Yikes.
It's close. He got hit with the asphalt as it exploded. Played again.
Wow. Oh, man.
It's crazy.
That'll get your attention.
Now, maybe you can explain it. How come you're driving, a car? I understand there's a Faraday, you're protected in a steel car. But what about a plastic car like a Corvette? Or like my Jeep that's got plastic roof?
It's the
Wouldn't that
tires.
bolt come right through?
Tires. Your rubber tires are what insulate you.
So the lightning's not attracted to you?
It's not going to ground because of the rubber tires.
And why do I see photos all over the internet of cars that have been hit by lightning and they're fried? Nobody died in them, but my God, the damage.
I don't know.
The cars.
That's typically the reason is that unless somebody in the chat knows smarter than me, which is extremely likely.
What if it's going to hit the ground, but you drive into it? See?
I have no idea.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's why I worry when I drive my Jeep in a lightning storm.
I think you're typically you're pretty safe as long as you're inside the car.
Yeah. Okay. Clip 3. Sound is good. This is just
This student
really
pilot lost her
harrowing.
landing gear during her first solo flight. Just watch as she attempts an emergency landing.
Your right main is now missing from the airplane.
Could you
It is
imagine?
fallen off the airplane. Say your intentions.
Can I circle
It's her
back
first
and land?
solo.
Affirmative. Are you a solo, ma'am?
I'm a pseudo-pilot solo, yeah.
Okay, it'll be okay. Just go ahead and circle the airport for now. Make a right turn to circle. We're going to get some people out to help you, okay?
Okay,
Maggie, this is John. How you doing?
I'm okay.
So, Maggie, left side will touch down first, and you're just going to ease the right side down. It's
The
going to
right
try to
wheels
pull
are
to the
gone.
right, so be prepared to use as much left rudder and left brake as you have to try to keep it on the center line.
World aircraft.
Beautiful job, Maggie. You got a whole bunch of people clapping for you up here.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
job, Maggie. Excellent job. Now, it's going to try to pull to the right, so be prepared to use as
Wow.
much left rudder and left brake as you have to try to keep it on the center line.
All
Good
right.
for her. That's impressive.
Beautiful job, Maggie. You got a whole bunch of people clapping for you up here.
All right.
Good job, Maggie.
Be safe. Good job.
Yeah, that's impressive, man.
Clip 4, sound is good. This clip contains is kind of a compilation of dogs that are way too quick. They're just way too
Oh,
fast.
Oh shit!
That's what dog.
potty mouth.
What do they call the zoomies?
Yeah.
Let's get the zoomies.
Oh gosh.
No dogs were hurt.
That's great. I just love seeing happy dogs.
Yeah, the energy. I don't have a dog at the exact moment, but
I wish I could have a dog. I love it so
we're
much.
thinking about it. Okay. Let's see here. The sound is good. These are cooking fails that I'm kind of used to these kind of things, as my friends will testify to. It's the kind of stuff that happens to me. The bottom broke out of her jar.
No.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Here you go, Jeff.
Oh.
Souffle.
Oh.
Ooh, that's no good.
It's stuck to the cover.
Oh.
Where's the what? Why did I just do that?
Those French fries, Jeff.
Yikes.
I did that to a hot dog in a bun the other day.
Oh my gosh.
I've in my younger days, I've been known to put a roast pizza in the oven and fall asleep.
Well, my tip is do not microwave a hot dog for 3 minutes. Doesn't
Yeah,
work.
good tip.
There's a frozen one. It still doesn't work. All right. Next, we have a radio-controlled squirrel, I think. Clip 6.
Okay, 1 second.
Sound is
here.
good. This thing is crazy.
Ой, какая же лапушка красивая. Ой, ты хвостунчик. Замечательный.
Fun little beast.
And then clip 6A here's next.
Yeah, go ahead. We always get
Whoops.
one of those, don't we? Strange RC.
Ah ouais, ça pousse. Ah ouais.
It seems to work.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Flies good. Can you buy a bird with flapping wings in an RC?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
All right, and then clip 7. Sound is good. Anybody that hasn't seen one of these newfangled logging machines, it's quite amazing.
This is impressive.
The power. Jeez. Power of logs. And that is the way to log, I guess. All right. We have
clip 8 is next.
Clip 8. Sound is good. This is an invention that probably won't sell. The transparent wheel. Why would you want a transparent wheel?
No.
No.
I'm going to go with
just
no on that one.
That's just no.
Nope. Don't need one of those.
Clip 9. Sound is good. This is a RC semi-truck, which is really cool. I didn't know these existed. You mentioned it to me.
Yep.
Look at this thing. What is that, 1/10 scale?
That's bigger than 1/10. That's pretty big.
It's huge. And people get together and park these things and
have little competitions. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
God. Apparently, there was a sky spiral. These have been recorded off and on throughout history, and they're always amazing looking. People get freaked out, but this one for sure was caused by SpaceX launch.
Did you see this?
Happens when they separate the stage 1 and stage 2.
No, it's not aliens. It's likely it was caused by a SpaceX rocket launch in the US. The company launched a Falcon 9 rocket at 1750 GMT on Monday on a classified...
If I saw that, it would freak me out.
Oh, man. Are you kidding me? That's nuts.
After launch, the first part takes its cargo...
I mean, that just looks... Yeah, looks like aliens. It's crazy.
All right, go to the next clip. I think it's a time lapse of the same thing.
The second stage continues to...
10A clip. It's our last one. And we'll bring Albert on.
1 second here.
No sound on that one, please. Pretty freaky in a time lapse. I'll watch this.
Oh, man. Yeah, can you imagine seeing that live? Holy smokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is crazy.
It was recorded by a lot of people, so I know.
Yeah,
it's really
I saw that quite a bit. Yeah, that's
there was one in Norway where apparently it was a failed Russian launch that created the rocket just kept spinning, and it created the Norway spiral. If you get a chance, look that up. It's really amazing. Huge spiral that happened up in the Arctic from a launch. All right. Well, we're getting into our main thing here. Should we just take that quick little second break and then we'll introduce Albert?
Quick ad here, sure.
Yeah.
Hangar One Publishing. Books that explore the unknown.
They're after my story.
Legends leap off the pages of our books.
You think you're the only one? They're under my heels too.
From UFOs to cryptids, Bigfoot and beyond.
Who's behind all this?
Hangar One Publishing, where every legend is revealed.
It's Hangar One Publishing. They're unraveling all of our mysteries.
Dive in, real videos, sights and sounds with our immersive book technology.
I guess our secrets are out now.
But in the best possible way.
From Bigfoot tracks to galactic trails, we cover it all.
We should get out of here before it's too late.
You're right, let's grab.
Escaping reality? Dive into ours. Hangar One Publishing, revealing the universe's best-kept secrets, one book at a time.
And I can say I was a fan of Hangar One stuff before I even met Doug.
Yeah, that's weird, isn't it?
Well, just beautifully produced books. The immersive book technology trick is so stinking cool. I was a fan before I even met you. So
that's weird.
I highly recommend Hangar One Publishing.
Thank you.
Both
All
for
right.
readers and writers.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be an author too.
Yeah. Well, it'd be fun to publish one of Albert's books. Anyhow, Albert S. Rosales is the world's leading expert on humanoid encounters. And what do we mean by a humanoid? Anything that walks upright. That could be any damn thing. Could be a dog man. Could be a Bigfoot. Could be some alien-looking thing. It could. I mean, he's going to tell us about creatures. It'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
Weird one-off stuff that people have encounters with.
Yeah.
But he's been documenting cases forever. He's a pioneer in it. He was literally the first guy that I could find things on the strange and the weird way back when the internet was brand new. Albert was hard at work. So he was born he was born in Cuba. Throw up one of his books. He was born in Cuba. He migrated to the U.S. in 1966. He says that he has had several unusual incidents as a young man. I can't wait to hear what those are. While living in Cuba, and such incidents continued to him as an adult in the USA. He became interested in unusual phenomena in the UFOs at a young age, but soon directed his focus to the crux of the phenomena, right? The humanoids, the entities, the extraterrestrials, and so on. He began collecting data on such encounters from worldwide sources in the late 1980s. And that's when I discovered him. I was like, oh my God. And currently he has a database of over 18,000 entries.
Amazing.
He's published a number of books. He's published The Others Among Us, Humanoid Encounters, and he's got years like 1 AD to 1899, then Humanoid Encounters 1930 to 1949. And of course, back then, there wasn't any influence, right, from pop culture. Humanoid Encounters from 2010, 2015. And I'm curious what the changes have been throughout the years. And no one's ever done this. It's only Albert. And then he did a book called UFOs Over Florida, Humanoids and Other Strange Encounters in the Sunshine, blah, 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 in the Sunshine State. So with that, let's welcome Albert.
Yep. Well. And welcome, Albert.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Hello.
Hi.
It's about time I met you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I thought, well, I think you forgot about me. And so all of a sudden I get your message today.
No, we're not going to forget about you. Oh my God, I've been looking forward to meeting you my whole life.
Thanks.
I wanted to meet you. I swear to God, back when the internet first popped up.
So I remember then I had most of my data on the UFO info site. Remember the UFO info site?
Yeah, and I would read your reports till late in the night until I was pretty well afraid to go to bed.
Right now my database is I think is over 30,000 already.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, already. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I've got so many questions for you, but one of the questions,
Me too.
have you seen a change from the early days before TV and today? Or is it the same kind of weird creatures?
Well, yeah, there's been kind of a change. You know, back in the 50s and 60s, if you look at the databases they had back then, like Jack's Ballet, Passport to Magonia,
right?
The Humanoids, edited by Charles Bowen, which there's like they show a list of incidents worldwide, and that's what interests me. That's the two books that caught my eye. And back then, the weird thing is, almost 100% of the entities described there in those books, none of them are what we call nowadays a gray. I mean, where did the grays come from? In my research, I started noticing that type of entity popping up middle 70s, late 70s. Let's say with the Travis Walton abduction, which I think it was one of the most publicized and documented abduction, I believe. And he described entities there that looked like the Greys.
Say, Albert, can
Big
you
head.
move your mic a little to the side? Your beard's scraping on it. Your microphone,
okay.
that thing that hangs. I don't know where your microphone is. It's something scratching on your beard.
Oh, okay.
That's
I think-
one reason I despise those headphone mics. They work, but boy, they're.
Put it over here. Yeah, I tried to, but I think my microphone is right on my laptop.
No, it's fine. You're perfect right there. The closer you get to your microphone, the
Okay.
better. Then we'll get you nice and clear. Anyhow, so you just noticed the Greys in the 70s.
They popped up. Then you had the movie, Close Encounters.
Right.
And I don't know if there was an influence there from Hollywood. People started seeing the Greys all over the place. And then we had these people that remember being abducted back in the 50s by the Greys, and then the Greys, but the thing is, that's not the only type of entity that's being encountered. We have many different type of entities wherever they come from. We have the so-called tall Nordics. We have robot type beings. And in my books, in my database, I include every type of what you call humanoid. Like you said, little people, mermaids, flying humanoids, like the Mothman type, reptilians, amphibians, tall Nordics, all type of entities.
Yeah, I remember a case in France that I read in your case files, where these things were like 14 foot tall along a road that was busy. People were seeing these giant. Do you remember that?
There's a case. I know there's one from Italy, quite recent.
Italy,
one.
that would be it. Yeah.
2012, I think. Not too long ago. Several motorists, they a place called Mortigliano in Italy, they spotted like this creature must have been 10 foot tall at least, and it was gangly, long arms. It had the head was kind of triangular shape. Remember?
Yep.
Big eyes, and it was walking by the traffic. And there were several witnesses, and after that, there were a couple more sightings of possibly the same creature. And and some of my reports that I include in my database include giant type humanoids that have been reported. I sent him a couple. I'm sorry, your name?
Jeff.
Jeff, I'm sorry. I sent you a couple of my files with.
I'm pulling up here.
Especially
I had them and lost them. Give me 1 second here.
1990, my file for the year 1990, I have over 800 reports there, and the reason is remember back in '89, the Soviet Union disintegrated, the Iron Curtain fell, and then we started getting reports, hundreds of reports from there that before then no one knew about, and I started getting reports from I had a couple connections over there in Ukraine and in Russia, and I started getting their reports, and a lot of them I had to translate. Of course, I used Google. Back then it was really hard, but now it's easier. And the type of reports, if you guys got a chance to go through the file, are incredible. starting in 1989 through, let's say 1996, there were like thousands of reports of encounters in what used to be Soviet Russia, and all the different provinces, and Eastern Europe, Romania, Poland, what used to be East Germany, Hungary. Incredible amount of cases there.
So
yeah.
Let's now backtrack. We're going to talk more about all these strange things, but what did you encounter that got you so interested in this back when you were a child?
It's weird because for some reason as a kid, I was raised, well, I was 7 years old when I left, 6 or 7 years old when I migrated from Cuba to Spain, then to the US. I was always, for some reason, I was always interested in I will go to my grandmother's house and look for she had like an encyclopedia, and the first thing I looked at was the entry where they show fairies and trolls and goblins. Mm-hmm. I was fascinated with that stuff. I didn't know why. And then my grandmother used to tell me stories of incidents that occurred. Her father used to have like it was like a sugarcane plantation in central Cuba. And she told me a story that always stayed with me. He said that one day her father and a helper were on their horse patrolling the area. There was a little track around the sugar cane field, and all of a sudden the horses stopped. They wouldn't move forward. They looked around, and right off the side of the track, there was what they described as a bundle. He said it white, pearly white, shaped, maybe oval shaped, maybe like you will see an image of Casper the ghost, something like that.
Okay.
And it wasn't that big, but he seemed to move towards the horses, and the horses were really spooked. They started backing up, and then they wouldn't move anymore. They just couldn't go forward or back. So her father, he was always armed. He had a pistol with him. So like every good human, what he did was he took out the gun and he fired at the thing, whatever it was. And this is what happened. He said every time he fired a bullet at it, it got bigger and bigger, and he kept approaching. Now his assistant took off like a bat out of hell. He just jumped off of the horse and left him. And then he thought better of it, and he said he threw the gun away, and he ran away from the scene also. The next day they came by, and the horses were still there. They were like spooked and nervous, but they were okay. They couldn't find any traces, but they told the people in the little town there, and they say, well, those are probably forest or earth spirits or whatever. But that's one of the stories that I remember very clearly that my grandmother used to tell me. And that's included in I included in my database. And
now, so when was the first time you saw something?
I was I lived in a city called Santa Clara, which is in central Cuba. This is the Bay of Pigs thing. I was young, very young. And there used to be a lot of blackouts, still are, but back then still a lot of blackouts. And we were all sitting outside with the neighbors, and we were playing dominoes. This is one thing they used to do a lot over there, and drink coffee. And I was young. I was maybe 6 years old. And while we were sitting there, we happened to look across the street and over the rooftops of the houses, and there was an object there, some kind of craft. It looked like a egg-shaped, bunch of lights around it. It seemed to have some kind of a structure outside. I couldn't tell exactly. They all say, well, those are the this is what they say. This is what thinking back then. The Americans are invading finally. So everybody thought, well, yeah, look, it's an American helicopter. There was no noise though. It was completely silent.
Gotcha.
And suddenly everybody just lost interest, except for me, for some reason, as the thing just floated across the street. There was a field behind my house. I ran back there, following it, looking at it, and it stopped. And I just stood under it. I don't know how high it was. I couldn't really estimate it, but it wasn't that high, I don't think. I still didn't hear any noise. I just looked at it, stared, and the next thing I remembered was my mother calling my name. Where are you? Where you been? It's really late. And I stood there, and it looked like I was wet. That's what I felt like. I felt like wet. And it hadn't rained that night or anything like that. So, and I don't remember anything of what happened after I stood there for a while. And
okay, you said you felt wet. Were you wet?
No. I have no idea how I this is one thing that I clearly remember.
Weird.
That I was wet. And my mom was, well, what happened to you? Why are you wet? I don't know. And I told, I mean, they were talking about what they seen, but nobody really paid attention to it. They were, it was just probably an American helicopter. This is what everybody said. Now that back then I had seen helicopters because there used to be some kind of base near where we lived, and there used to be a lot of activity there with different type of Russian helicopters and stuff like that. And this is I'm thinking 61 or 62 around that time. Yeah.
How big was it, Albert?
I'm thinking it was maybe the size of a small bus. It wasn't that big. It wasn't that small, but it was like shaped like this too. It was like
it's just crazy though that other people lost interest and walked away.
They did. Everybody some of those just kept playing dominoes. I mean, I don't know why, but and around the same time, in the same place where I lived, right there in that house, I remember going out by myself into the night. I ran out for some reason, and right next to my house at the corner there was a huge, what I can only describe as a ball of fire. It's like a fireball, huge. And he seemed to be hovering there all above the ground. He's right next to my house. Of course, I thought it was a fire or an explosion or something. And I seemed to lose all memory after that of what happened. How did he leave, or what did I do? And those incidents were ingrained in me. And maybe that's why later my interest really peaked, with dealing with unexplained phenomena and types of beings. There's also another little story there in my house, which I'm not sure it has to do with aliens, but it's really weird. There was a hallway in my house, and there was a huge mirror right in the middle of the hallway. And one time, I got up. I don't know what time it was, maybe 12 midnight or something like that. I went to the kitchen, and I was walking by, and I looked at the mirror, and there was somebody's face or head in the mirror, and they were looking down at me because I was a small guy. And it looked at me like he was smiling or laughing. And the guy looked like he had a beard and a helmet. And for some reason, I just thought that he looked like one of those Spanish conquistadors that were in Cuba back in, when they first came over. But that's what he looked like. But he was just there smiling. And of course, I ran to my parents, and they dismissed it. They didn't pay attention. Like most of the time, like it always happens that way. Your parents that don't really believe what you're saying.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that's in my case anyway. Back then, when I was young, because after that, I wouldn't want to sleep alone in my bed. I will go to their bed and they will throw me out. It was I suffered from night terrors and all. No, it was pretty intense.
Okay, well, this sent you on a lifelong mission. You moved here to the U.S. in '66.
Right.
And did you have anything else happen here while you were still young before you decided to start documenting all these cases?
That I remember? No. That I remember. It was a little bit after that, maybe 1972, 71, that I started finding these books in the library. I remember the Frank Edwards Flying Saucers Here and Now, and all the old books that you hardly can find nowadays. And I started reading them. I will check them out. I will check out like 10 books at a time and bring them home around that time. And I remember one night we lived in a second story apartment. There was a large window And me and my sister were sitting there. We looked out, and across there was something that to me looked like very much like what I saw in Cuba back in 1961 or 62. But it seemed to be brighter, a lot of lights, and they just moved over. And I remember it just disappeared behind some houses there, but there wasn't any noise that we can hear, and it was pretty big. After that, I remember looking around. Back then, there's no internet or anything like that, so I don't know how I found the address for APRO, the UFO group back in Arizona, one of the pioneer UFO groups. That they're the first ones actually that took the humanoid cases seriously here in the U.S. Because earlier when they submitted humanoid reports, this is what I read or what I heard, most of them were discounted. And unbelievable, no, it can't be, And they took it seriously. Anyway, I wrote a letter to them, telling them what I seen. And I don't know, I was a young kid, so I never got an answer, but that's one of the things that happened. And then later on, I had further incidents, but that was when I was when I graduated from high school. I joined the Navy. I was in the Navy for 4 years. I went to boot camp. For some reason, they sent me to Chicago instead of Orlando. It used to be a naval base in Orlando, but they sent me to Chicago in a train. Don't know why. And it was cold. And I'm from Miami, so it was just crazy. One night, we were in the barracks, and I was doing the what they call the midnight watch, and just walking around. And then one of the guys, I remember he was a full-blooded Navajo guy, Indian, a Native American. He came running over. He goes, Albert, come over to my locker in my bed. I go, what's going on, man? I can't leave the post. I go, oh, come with me. And I was hearing, I kept hearing like a tapping sound. I go, what is that, Wesley? He goes, come here. And then he pointed at he had like a little locker. We stowed our stuff there. And there was like, it sounded like somebody inside the freaking locker banging from inside. I go, what is that? You got somebody in there going, oh, no, that's got to be. He goes, that's my grandfather. This is what he told me. I go, well, your grandfather? What do you mean? I think my grandfather passed. This is him. And then by that time, there were three or four of the guys right behind me because they had woken up. They had listened to the thing. Everybody was standing around listening to the banging noise. And then one of the guys opened the drawer, and we opened the thing, and it stopped for a second. The moment we closed it, it started happening again. And then I go, well, I don't think I can help you with this, So everybody just went back to bed, and we didn't report it to the chief either because I didn't want to do 100 push-ups the next morning. But that was a crazy thing that happened. And, the Great Lakes station there, this is back in 76, okay? It's always been associated with different type of, supposedly there's a, they have the wreckage of a UFO there at the Great Lakes station. And Linda Godfrey, Linda Godfrey.
Yeah. Yep.
She wrote about an incident about people, some MPs, military police, encountering what they describe as a dog man in the base grounds. It's a huge base, right? And there's been several weird incidents there, apparently.
Interesting. Okay, so there's so many categories to talk about. Do you consider Bigfoot a humanoid encounter?
I consider Bigfoot a humanoid, but in my summaries, I do not include every Bigfoot encounter because it would just be too many. I include those encounters which are really high strangeness, connected with the UFOs. Bigfoot connected to the UFOs. Bigfoot that mind speak, that use telepathy. Bigfoot that you shoot at him and he disappears in a bright flash, like it's been reported in Pennsylvania and different places. Bigfoot that suddenly disappears in front of you or is transparent. Weird reports like that. very few real normal, if you
Right.
consider that normal Bigfoot reports. But I usually do the really high strangeness Bigfoot reports.
When was the last time you got one of those? How long has it been?
I have collected cases for 2024, which is the last year I'm going to do that. By the way, I know there's that Stan Gordon in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
I used to correspond with him a long time ago. Really nice guy, but he documents really weird encounters from Pennsylvania, and he last year he documented several incidents which they were not quite Bigfoot. They were like smaller creatures, but they were hairy also. And he documented a couple of incidents where they had short or medium-sized hairy creatures that did not walk. They seemed to glide over the ground. And that's another high strange attribute that I would say. But he already has documented cases of Bigfoot encounters in Pennsylvania for this year.
How do you deal with all the? Okay, I can only imagine the stuff rolling around in your head, but how do you deal with it? How do you deal with the fact that reality isn't normal for you?
I've been doing this for a long time. I started my actually collecting cases, or like you say, early 80s. Even when I was in the Navy in boot camp, I would write down, people would tell me stories and I would write them down, but wasn't really serious, but I did write them down. And I used to subscribe to all those magazines, the old UFO magazines like Saga UFO Report. I used to get them at the naval base. And one time the chief called me to the office, and he was holding one of the magazines that my parents used to send me there from Miami. And he goes, "Why are you reading this?" I go, "Well, it's like," I told him it was my hobby. I was, "Oh, well, this is kind of a strange hobby." He was kind of befuddled by the thing. It was UFOs. And he kind of held the magazine for a while, and then he gave it back to me. He goes, "Okay, but I don't want to see this around anymore." I go, "All right, whatever." So I didn't get it over there again. But look, many times I have tried to quit because it becomes, like, say, overwhelming. It's just, if you don't take a break once in a while, but I can never quit. It always calls me back. Right after I left the Navy in 1980, 81, I went to work with my dad, and I stopped doing everything for a while. And I go, well, I think I want to finally relax. I don't know. I don't care about. I even try to sell some of my books. I only sold one. So the other ones are still there. So what I one time, this is right after I got married. My wife was my first wife, unbeliever, so she didn't really care about this subject. I went out to it was like a mall area, and I looked in one of the bookstores. I always love books. No matter what type of books. And I looked in the display, and guess what I saw right staring at my face? Woodley Strieber's Communion face looking at me. And I go, wait a minute. And I was just mesmerized. I swear to God. I went in and I bought the book. Then I looked around, and there was Bob Hopkins' Intruders and Missing Time. This is the early 80s when all those books started coming out. And I started buying those. And I went back. And then I had a huge collection of books. And I lost a lot of them. But and then back in 93, 92, when I first got my first computer, that's when I started doing my database. Which now, like I said, over 30,000 cases.
How many hours a day do you work on organizing and taking reports? It's got to be every day.
I try to do it every day. Then I try to do other things so that way I don't, go crazy. But I'm retired from the Miami-Dade Police Department. 35 years I was there. I could tell you a couple of stories from there too, but now since I'm retired, I have more time to do this. I have been building my database up. I haven't been able to publish any more books, which I want to do that, or at least I want to make my database available to the public so they can go through it, like the files that I sent out earlier. But it's something that most of the time when I'm alone in the house, that's what I'm doing. If I'm not doing like an errand or something like that, but yeah. I remember one case when I was Miami-Dade Police. This is in 1989. Midnight shift. Okay, this case is in my my database, and I used to have the copy of the police report. I didn't take the call, but somebody else did, and a security guard calling from a payphone. Back then, and there was no cell phones or anything like that. He dialed 911, the emergency numbers, and he goes, "There are intruders in the parking lot." Okay, then the guy that took the call had to describe them to me. He goes, "I don't know. They look like, I don't think they're men. I don't think they're." I go, "What do you mean?" He said he was patrolling this. It was like a strip mall. He turned around the corner. He said he saw three. He said there were at least 7 foot tall figures, thin, long arms. And the biggest and the weirdest thing was he said they had large heads with huge cat-like eyes, and they were staring at him. Now this guy, he was armed, but he didn't dare pull out his gun. He just ran to the payphone. The police took him seriously. They responded to the scene. Back then, there used to be an empty field across the street. They searched the whole area. Unfortunately, they didn't find anything, but they found this guy credible enough to write a report. And I know of other calls that we used to get, and I used to talk to police officers and sergeants that will give me information on incidents and that they were involved in. Even though back then, one time they called me into the captain called me. He said, if you're into UFOs and you go to an interview or something, do not mention that you work for the Miami-Dade Police Department. I go, why not? No, because we can't be connected to you. I'm talking back then in the 80s, early 90s, when there wasn't as much openness as there is now. But yeah.
So what about that mall incident? It sounded, the story you just told me, this police story, is so similar to what people reported at the mall recently. Yeah, I'm sure you remember that, where all the police showed up. There were like 100 police cars, and that was either a hoax or it was real. What the hell happened?
Unfortunately, when that happened, I was sick at home. I think I had COVID for some reason. Well, that's what they told me. And I couldn't go to the scene or anything like that, but I spoke to a guy that did go to the scene, and he wrote a report for me. He said he interviewed several people that were there. The police refused to talk to him about it, and they didn't let him listen to any other tapes or anything like that. But anyway, he spoke to some of the employees, and most of them were told not to talk about what happened. Now, he was told that there was some kind of incident that for some reason that night, it was the 31st, the cell phones were not working properly at the mall. There was some kind of problem with the signal, and they couldn't tell why. And then there were several people that reported seeing helicopters, black helicopters, over the area, over the mall. Everybody thought they were part of the New Year's celebration or something, but it was kind of strange because they were not. I mean, they were, the black helicopters. They were not near the crowd, but they were right over the mall. And then, according to him, he was told that there was some. This is what he was told, and I can't really say 100%. There was some kind of portal people saw near one of the shoe stores. I remember which one. Something opened up, and several large creatures walked out, and these were like semi-transparent and scared the heck out of everybody there, supposedly. police were called. There were already police there, but then when they were called and they were told what was happening, and that's when all of a sudden 100 police cars showed up.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Which you know, I mean, and then they said, what happened? They asked the police. It was some kind of incident with some teenagers.
Yeah,
100 cars for some teenagers. It's kind of weird, you know. I to this day I really don't know exactly what happened, but it's been kept pretty quiet.
Yeah, JT makes a good point, Albert. Said even with a terrorist situation, never seen that many police cruisers.
That's crazy. I've never seen that many cars.
Did you see the footage of that, Jeff?
Yeah, I've never seen that many squad cars.
It was crazy
on a scene ever. That was nuts.
And then somebody told me, Albert, you think it could have been some kind of psych ops operation? And I thought about that too. I see what the reaction of the crowd would have been. I don't know. Maybe there were some kind of holographic images that were projected. I really don't know, but it was something happened. I don't know what.
Yeah, exactly. Weird. That's all we probably know. And you did give us some more information. The fact you did talk to somebody that had some inside info.
Oh yeah, I got his report somewhere, and I could send it to you guys later on. He wrote something up for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd love to see it. These incidents, so many of them are one-off. Like they never happened again. They were like the Pascagoula incident. The creatures these two men reported, drew, haven't matched anything ever since or ever before. But yet those guys were so credible.
They were. Yeah.
They were extremely credible. And unfortunately, we're never going to know. But that's a classic case of a one-off that you deal with all the time. Like you deal with one-offs. What do you think the hell is going on? Are we being visited by a bunch of different races that come here and go, I'm out of here? They don't ever come back?
Maybe.
Or, you know what I mean? What's the explanation? How do you justify it in your brain?
Maybe we're like a Grand Central Station, a pathway from somewhere, and we're right in the middle of it. Maybe I don't know. I have talked to several people here in a little group. He goes, maybe back when the first atomic tests were conducted, some kind of portal was open or something. Mm-hmm. I go, yeah, maybe, but there were cases before that. I go, yeah, but not as many and not as widespread and stuff. But I think there's whoever's visiting us, they use maybe portals to travel through space, just like the movie Interstellar. Remember, where they have the aliens supposedly built some kind of through a wormhole, and then they come in. Like that's what I think happens. Some of the Bigfoot. There've been reports of Bigfoot coming out of from an opening in the middle or the air right there floating, and they jump out of there and they disappear into the woods. Just like what happened at Skinwalker Ranch, where one of the people that were researching there, they saw something like that. They saw something like an opening, and a big, hairy or dark figure jumped out and took off running. And I think it has to do with a lot of parallel dimensions, and a lot to do with that.
Well, quantum physics of some sort and like parallel dimensions where these things exist, they pop in. People see them. Okay, well, then the follow-up question, what percentage of people do you think actually report a weird humanoid when they see it? I'll bet you it's small is my guess, but what do you think?
A lot of people have contacted me. Mr. Rosales or Albert, something happened to me, and I want to give you the information on what happened. I go, sure, here's my email, my phone number. Let's talk about what happened. I never hear from them again. I call them or I contact. Goes, no, we don't want to talk about it anymore. And that's a large percentage of the people. I think what I have, is only the tip of an iceberg. 30,000 cases, because most people, they either report it years later or they don't report it at all. And I think it's important. It's very important for every story to be known. because I want my database to be something useful in the future. For what? I'm not sure, but I think somebody could use it to figure something out.
Yeah, no, I think it's important. You must know it's important. You just don't really feel the appreciation for what you've done, but it's certainly important. I mean, whatever you're doing, you're documenting history.
I get cases worldwide. I get cases that you wouldn't know here if I I translate cases from Germany, Italy, Portugal, and Russia, like I was talking earlier, France, all of Europe and South America. I speak Spanish, so I don't have to. The Spanish cases don't really bother me. I could translate them easily. But some of the other languages, like the hard, difficult languages, like Romanian, Swedish, Finnish, they're difficult. Even though I do have connections in different countries, other investigators in Finland, Sweden, Poland, they help me out with translations. Russia, Ukraine.
So, how many different, just give me an estimate, how many different types of creatures do you think you've documented in your case files that are different from each other? Just guess.
Wow. There are so many. I mean, there's many, a lot of them resemble the other a little bit, but they're not quite exactly alike. And
but let's talk about distinct groups. How many different distinct groups do you have? Do you have a vast, like kind of subcategories? Super tall ones, hairy ones, green ones, blue ones. I mean, do you have a?
I was just reading about blue entities, what they call the blue men.
Yeah.
Native American encounters with the blue men by R.D. Six Killer Clark.
I've personally heard 2 or 3 stories about blue creatures.
And then the weird thing is I'm reading about it, and then I go into my database and I find a case exactly almost the same description of the creature. Tall blue, like I was reading about the case that six killer described in Vietnam. They were encountering a group of blue men. Then I went to my database and I got a case from Argentina describing exactly the same thing, a tall glowing blue man. But this guy was seen in a parking lot. The other one in the jungle. So, I would say there's like the more humanoid types, human-like, tall, what they call it tall blondes or the tall whites now.
Right.
The more human-looking ones. And then we got the reptilians, mantids, which that type of creature wasn't really seen that much back in the 70s or 60s. Reptilian, maybe 1 or 2 cases, but I never heard of mantis back then. There's some of the images there of a type of
There
entity.
you go. There's the categories. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
But that's only, that's not all, but there are different type of grays, the short, the tall gray. Some of the grays are wearing clothing, others are not. And there's reports of grays that have teeth, others don't have teeth. It's just so many types. I mean, they have you heard of the Michelin Man type of entity, which is an entity that looks like the car tire commercial?
No, sir, and I don't want to.
It's some entity that looks like just like that, like the Michelin Man. It's been reported in France a lot and in different locations.
How come you don't have any winged creatures in this?
Oh, I don't know, because but there are a lot of winged entities, a lot lately.
Yeah.
Lon Strickler from Paranormal Monsters, I can't remember exactly, but he has documented a lot
Phantoms
of
and
cases.
Monsters.
Phantoms and Monsters,
Yeah, Lon, he's a great guy.
He has documented a lot of winged creatures.
What's with that? Because me and Yvette saw one. Swooped at our car. It's not something you expect. We're just driving home. Beautiful night. Music was playing on the radio. In fact, I remember the song. It was Vincent from Don McLean was playing on the radio. Full moon night, clear sky. we see this shiny thing up in the sky by the moon. It's kind of shiny, but big. And then it drops down, Albert, stops like a spider, like a spider dropping on a web. Dropped straight down, stopped suddenly, and headed right for my car. And it just kept getting closer and closer. And I'm driving, I don't know what I'm doing, 65. And it's heading for my windshield at high speed. And as it gets close to the window, Yvette ducks because she thought it was coming through the window. And then eventually I ducked, just a split second later probably. But I got a good look at it. It wasn't anything that fits into any category. It had shiny wings, shiny skin. It had kind of a gargoyle-y kind of face, black eyes. And it just swooped right over the top of my car. It didn't attack us, but it did attack us. We almost crashed because of that.
Yeah, it could have caused you to crash. Yeah,
absolutely. We didn't because I'm such a great driver. But, but she made me pull over at a gas station because she said they could be on the roof. And I'll tell you the weirdest thing about that encounter. I've never had this happen since, and it happened to both of us. We had chills and goosebumps from the waist down. Normally you get them on your back of your neck and your arms. We felt the tingles, this tingling in our lower halves. And that's, and you come home and we're just quiet and we get, what the frick was that? And what was that all about? And why did we see that? And I ended up agreeing then to History Channel and doing a winged humanoid show for History Channel based on the fact we saw one.
Talking about the winged humanoids, now recently, I've been in contact with a couple of researchers in Puerto Rico, and there's been a lot of, it's like what we call a wave of encounters with what they describe as gargoyle-type creatures. Red eyes, 7 foot tall, huge wings. They've been seen all over the island, different places. This is something you don't hear about in the news anywhere. But these two guys, they have documented like almost more than 100 cases, starting a couple years ago. And the latest one has been at the end of 2024. This year, I'm not sure they have any yet recorded, but I think they do. It's like people have been seeing mostly in the countryside. They've been hearing noises. They're animals. A lot of people there keep their animals outside, goats or whatever. That's where the chupacabra originated, by the way. And some of these animals have been attacked by these gargoyle-type creatures. And sometimes they're so overwhelmed with cases that they don't know what to do. They're not going to tell the government about it because they know that I don't think anything's going to happen. But yeah, these winged humanoids are a big part of the phenomenon right now. Definitely.
Oh man, but I'll tell you, you talk about something that messes with your reality because the wings were as wide as the freeway. This was not this was not something you could mistake a bird for, an owl or a crane. No way. It was life-changing and she's still suffering from that encounter.
How long ago was that?
She's still rattled, no question.
Oh, she's still rattled. She still won't. She's afraid to drive in that. I've been trying to get her to go to that same area. She won't go. She's afraid of the forest. Everything changed after that night, especially that night. It really, and I don't blame her. I mean, I really don't. It affected me too, because you suddenly have to accept almost everything. Does that make sense? You have to almost accept.
If you see something like that, then I mean, everything's possible after that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And you're humbled. You're very humbled. So who am I to say, bah humbug on some guy who sees a blue man standing in his bedroom? I'm not the guy that's going to say, oh, that's bull crap. No way. That's
why, I keep an open mind because I heard so many weird incidents. I not even heard, I read in different journals and worldwide journals. and books. There's I won't even call humanoid. It's like there've been creatures reported that look like octopus,
Yeah.
with tentacles, and they've been reported worldwide. Not as much as the other type of creatures. Then we have amphibian type of creatures that look like your typical merman or mermaid.
Really?
And
Yeah, that's kind of a thing
yeah.
right now. Mermaids. Everybody's talking about mermaids. So what advice do you have for somebody like me or Yvette that's seen this, seen one of these things? And by the way, that's how I met Lon. I finally got the guts to report after many years.
Did you report it to Lon? Okay.
Finally did, and I told him to keep quiet. And then after time has gone on, I was like, I don't even care anymore. People want to judge us. Look, I had a witness, and Yvette's gone public with it too. And she did a podcast for Bobo and Cliff. She went.
I say don't keep it to yourself.
Right. And I feel better telling
people. Speak about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to judge me, fine. But we saw that. Yeah, we could be mistaken, I guess. I'll leave that open. But on the same token, to say I don't think about that every time I take a walk in the dark or go take the trash out, people tease me because you think about that. What if I wasn't in a car and that thing came at me?
Be terrified.
Yeah. I have my own experience, but I'm not sure if it was a flying humanoid or not, but it could have been.
Go ahead.
Back in 1999, I remember the year because it was like we were switching to 2000 and the computers at work or whatever. And I have gone to visit my mom. She lived in an area here in Miami. In Miami-Dade called Coral Gables, a lot of wood, pretty wooded, pretty nice area. She lived in an apartment complex, and I was leaving, and it was broad daylight. I'm thinking it was maybe afternoon.
Okay.
I was backing my car out of the parking lot, and there wasn't that much traffic. That's strange, not too much traffic. So I backed out and I looked, and there was somebody standing in the middle of the road, looking in my direction. I think it was, and it looked huge. It looked, and in white. It was completely white in color. It looked like a man that was wearing something white, and I think he was wearing some kind of boots or something. I'm not sure, but he was tall. I know he was tall. He didn't look like a gargoyle, but his shoulders were extremely wide and tall. So to me, he looked like he had a pair of wings. For some reason, that's what I thought. I go, what? And I just kept looking at him.
Okay, well you got to back up a little bit, Albert. Where was this exactly?
Coral Gables.
Coral Gables on a
Miami-Dade, Florida.
Out in the country, or
no? It's not in the country. This is right across the street from the University of Miami.
Oh, jeez.
And we got US 1 runs right by it.
So this thing, there's no other cars around. It's just you driving.
Me, I didn't see anybody else around for some reason. So I looked, and there was this tall figure in white, and it moved. And I look at it. I'm like, I have my head twisted over, and I go, let me look front, make sure I don't hit anybody around. And when I looked back, it was gone. So where the hell did he go? I looked around. He could not have gone anywhere unless he flew away. That's what I thought. I'm thinking maybe this guy had a pair of wings.
Wow, it was white.
And what, it was white, completely white. And that's one of those things. Right after I saw it, I didn't think about it much. I go, and then, like later, I go, wait a minute. What I saw that wasn't normal. That was not normal, because at that moment you think that is it got to be an explanation, or it was some weird. I don't know. You don't think about it at that point that you're looking at something weird or something strange. Later is when you think, wait a minute, what the hell did I see? And that's what happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and Lon had a sighting too. He was telling me this thing was on the ground, and it I think it opened its wings. He was with a bunch of other boys when he was he was at a Boy Scout camp when he was a teenager, and it opened its wings and made some kind of scream and then took off straight up. One of the weird aspects of these creatures, these winged humanoids, they never flap their wings. Their wings are like, they're just for looks.
They seem to glide. They glide or something, you know.
Yeah, this one that came at us, it never flapped its wings. And I've got so many reports, people that have called me and told me their story, and they never report the wings flapping, it just glides. It's like, it's there for looks.
Or maybe they vibrate like bees do.
Yeah, that could be. There you go. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for that. So, what's the creepiest winged humanoid story you've heard? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
so many of them. I have read a lot of incidents. I know one here in Miami. This is back in the 76, around the same time they had this the winged incidents in Texas near San Antonio, January 1976. There were a lot of cases there. People were actually attacked by winged humanoids. But this one, the witness was a ufologist here in Miami. Older guy. He was an older Cuban man. That he was a ufologist in Cuba, and now he was a ufologist here in Miami. And he was driving with his daughter. Okay, this area where he was driving is urban, like houses both sides, traffic. Back in 76, we still, we wasn't that much traffic yet, but we still had traffic. And he says he was driving with his daughter, and they saw like a shadow over their car, that it was like a huge shadow. He stopped, he looked up, he said that he saw the biggest bird he ever seen in his life. He said he had huge wings. He looked like a bird, but huge. Maybe like a thunderbird, like the American Indian folklore type. But he was huge in the middle of Miami. And it glided, like you said. It wasn't flapping his wings. It was just gliding over the car. And he had like a long neck and a beak, but it wasn't like your typical bird. It was something different about it. He said it was something prehistoric about it. And he stopped his car. His daughter told him not to follow it or something. She was terrified. She was young, very young. And then he just disappeared. He never knew where he went. But it's what he told me scared the hell out of him, and it scared the hell out of his daughter. And this is an area that later on, years later, I lived in that area. And it's always been the same. A lot of houses, some traffic, and there's what they call 8th Street, which is a large thoroughway there. That's where all the tours hang out. Back then, it wasn't that much tourist street, but yeah, it's right in the middle of urban Miami.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to matter. Lon's reports of these winged creatures that people keep reporting around the airport. O'Hare.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And he's had baggage handlers and pilots and people that live around the airport have been reporting these now. It's been going on like five years.
Or more, because
yeah.
I remember back in 2006 when they had the UFO sighting in O'Hare. Remember the famous? They saw a disc. Yeah,
punched a hole in the cloud. Yeah,
right. And soon after that, they started having, like Lon says, in maybe 2008, 2009. He started getting reports of flying humanoids in the area.
So, what other really weird humanoid encounters that just that stick out in your mind that you can't forget?
There's so many, but
I'll just pick one. Doesn't matter.
I'm interested in cases where they're different type of humanoids together.
That's what I'm interested in.
I mean, there's this case from France, 73, and there was a couple. They were out in the countryside near a farm, and they were in a car. Like it usually happens, for some reason these things are attracted to couples in vehicles. Like young Keel used to say, you know. And they were there, you know, and then they saw a light on the field, and they looked, and it saw like a big dome. It said right on the field, and near the farmhouse. There wasn't anybody else around. It was early in the morning, and then they stared at the dome, and they saw like an opening, like a door or something, some kind of gateway or something. And out of it stepped 3, what they described, little men. They were not your typical grays, but they were similar. You know, their heads were not huge, but they were kind of big, and they were wearing some kind of a space suit or something, boots. They walked around. Maybe they got about 20 feet away from the craft that stood there, and then right after they came out, 2 more figures came out. And these figures, which they describe as tall, blonde hair men with long blonde hair. Okay, this is before we started talking about Nordics and stuff like that, and they were wearing silver coveralls, tight fitting, and they didn't walk around. They stood next, they didn't walk far. They just walked a couple feet away from the craft. And now it comes the weird part, the weirdest one. Right after they walked out, another creature steps out, and they were like terrified. They said this creature looked. This is what they say it looked like. It looked like a huge ape. And it got out, hunched over. They say it was big, but it was kind of hunched over. And he stood next to the craft, or to the object, like it was on guard duty, guarding the, similar to a Sasquatch, yeah. Like guarding, looking around. 5 minutes later, the three little ones walked in, went inside, followed by the 2 tall ones. And then the last one was the big ape-type creature. And then the thing took off. Now they drove away, but the next morning, the owners of the farm, they found footprints in the area, different size of prints. And this case was well documented by French and Spanish researchers. And the funny thing is, I know another case in Puerto Rico in 1977, and this is very weird too, where they had, and it's almost a copycat to this incident, but the guy was out in there were a lot of hills, he was hiking, and he said he saw something come out of the ground that looked like an elevator, okay, square, metallic, out of the ground, or it appeared to come out of the ground. And he just stood there, and it opened, and 2 men walked out. There were no little men this time. There were 2 tall men, he said, blonde hair. Shorter hair, but there were blonde men, wearing blue uniforms this time. And followed by what he described was a tall Sasquatch-type creature. And this creature stood there, like the other one, by the object, while these 2 men walked around doing what? I don't know. Whatever they do, who knows? But this is so similar to the other case in France, which is caught my attention.
Strange. Is there one creature that you've heard about that has attacked anybody or done anything aggressive to where the person really, the witness was super afraid for his life?
There's been cases documented in Brazil which people were actually attacked with no provocation at all. They were like, either this is up in the Amazon jungle, northern Brazil.
Okay.
And it was documented by the Brazilian military. They had an operation called Prato, from 77 to 79, hundreds of reports. A lot of the locals there were attacked by beams of light coming from UFOs. They were burnt. Some of them were paralyzed. And there were incidents of several fishermen found dead after a UFO was seen in the area. And they had like scorch marks, or they were burnt. And I don't know if it was intentional, or it was an accident, or maybe they got too close. I don't know. My recommendation, if you see something, don't rush up to it. Only fools rush in, like they say. Yeah. Stay away. See what happens. But I know a case in Brazil also we initiated the hostility here. It was like this guy had a house next to a small runway in the middle of the country. This UFO landed. He said 3 men stepped out, bald headed like me, wearing uniform, yellow, and he, of course, he grabbed his rifle and he shot at him. Right after that, like a beam out of the UFO struck him right in the forehead or in the head. This guy was dead two days later. Some kind of leukemia or some kind of cancer that was one of those that they couldn't control for some reason. He passed away 2 days later. And there was a case in Colombia also where the guy was also hit by a beam of light from the UFO, and he passed away soon after that. In Spain, there's a case like that exactly. A farmer, some kind of weird object that looked like a disc with a coning tower on top, and he approached it with his tractor, and some kind of thin beam of light from the object struck him. He didn't feel anything at the time, but this guy, a couple of days later, got real sick, and he started deteriorating, and he finally passed away.
Jeez.
And there's some other cases that they're really too weird. It's like,
well, what about the cases where people hear a knock on their door? Those are really creepy. There's quite a few of them in your files where they get a knock on their door and they look out the peephole or they open the door and it's some creepy creature standing there.
well, just like the black-eyed kids, they come and knock on your door. But there's cases like that. Yeah, there's one famous case in Wisconsin, and back in '75, that occurred the same day of the tragedy of the Edmund Fitzgerald. The same day, the same night. A couple were at home, radiation, and they heard a knock at the front door. Oh, it's kind of late. I wonder what would it be. They looked out and they saw a weird-looking being right in front of the door. They say, look, some kind of like a troll. He was wearing like some kind of strange clothing, and he was holding a staff, some kind of staff, and he was floating right above the ground, not too high. And there were 2 others at the end of the driveway, exactly the same. And they, for some reason, the guy tried to approach the beam, but they just floated away. Thank God he wasn't attacked or anything like that. But I have there's a lot of cases like that. I think Whitley Strieber documented several cases like that where people hear 3 knocks. For some reason, it's 3 knocks, and they go out and they encounter something, a being or an object, or sometimes there's a knock but there's nobody, and when you look, there's some kind of a UFO or a strange light.
Nice. Yeah, it's just I don't think anything could be creepier than hearing a knock on your door and having things go crazy.
Something that really creeps me out, and I have read everything, I've seen everything almost. These reports of black-eyed kids.
Yeah.
They've been reported everywhere now. Not only in the U.S., I know in the UK, researchers there, they have several reports from there. Even in Mexico.
Do you want to relay a story or two?
I personally, I haven't received any cases, but I have documented, to my database. There's so many. I don't have a specific one, but I do have a suggestion that something like that happens. Don't open the door. If you see what they would, if you see those kids or you're in your car. I know several cases when they come up to the parked car and they knock on the window. Come and they ask the guy, "Can I go in? Can you give me a ride?" And when you get this feeling. It's like a primeval self-defense feeling that there's something wrong, that you get the fight or flight. You got to leave because I don't think you're going to win that fight. And no, don't let them in.
No, don't let anybody in you don't know.
Yeah,
don't
really.
Don't open the door. Do you think that these a lot of people think the black-eyed kids are like alien hybrids or something, but that doesn't seem to fit.
I know there's hybrids that look like completely a combination between alien and human, mostly the gray type. For some reason, there's a lot of reports recently about hybrids. I'm not too sure where the black-eyed kids are. I heard in the UK reports in near the Cannock Chase Forest, where they encounter like a little girl, black eye, and the guy tried to approach her, and there was like a flash of light, and so kind of he felt like a vibration. He was thrown back about 20 feet. So there you have it. I do not approach him. Do not let him in. And they were not knocking on the door of a house. They were walking in the middle of a field. There was a little girl. I mean, if you see a little girl walking in the field by herself, well, you're going to be worried because you think it might be a lost child. When you get up close and you see what it is with the black eyes, then you, oh, shoot.
Yeah. The other thing that's creepy are people reporting seeing things standing under the street light. I know you've got several reports of just somebody just looking down the street. And there's a street light lighting the street up, and there's a strange creature standing under the street light.
What I call, what some researchers call parahumans. They look human, but not exactly. You see somebody that's standing there, and for some reason they're wearing a top hat or some kind of black hat or fedora. They look like the Men in Black a little bit. And you're standing there and you drive by and you look, and their face is completely either all white, eyes are black, just like the black-eyed kids. But for some reason, these type of beings are seen a lot, like on the roadway, by the road, on the street lamps, like you said, near bridges, right near the bridge. And usually they appear to lone motorists that driving by or something like that.
Are there ever any reports of like them riding some strange vehicle, some kind of weird thing driving around? It's not a UFO, but just some contraption.
I wrote a little article a while back called "Cosmic Cars," in which I have several reports of these entities driving around in weird vehicles.
Okay.
I mean, and there's a case in the I remember cosmic vehicle. There's a case in the Philippines that was in '68. It's a farmer, several farmers. They saw what they thought was they say it looked like a futuristic car in the field, white, and it had two wheels in the front, but for some reason they didn't have no wheels in the back. It wasn't touching the ground either, and there were two men dressed in white coveralls around it. And when they saw the farmer approach, they ran in, and he said this thing that looked like a car moved, and then it took off and disappeared into the sky. And this was seen 3 times in the same area, but several farmers. Also, there are reports of aliens or whatever humanoids riding what you might call scooters, but in the air, flying scooters, really type of platform or something. There's many reports like that. I spoke to a guy directly that him, some friends, they were up in the Yukon in Canada, in the middle of nowhere. And I think it was, I don't remember the name of the highway, but they were in their vehicle and they looked next to him, and all of a sudden there was, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 objects drove next to them. Not drove, but saying they were like right above the ground, and there were men wearing helmets, kind of tight-fitting uniform, and they were on some kind of what they described some kind of scooter, but floating in midair. It had a handle, but it didn't have a tire, and then it just passed them and took off at really high speed. And there's many reports like that. I know reports from Puerto Rico, from France, of that type of, if you get a chance, just look up, I don't know, I have it with me, the article, Cosmic Cars.
Interesting. How about the Flatwoods Monster? That was in some kind of a chariot that floated.
Yeah, and the Flatwood Monster, there were several reports of similar creatures are in the same area at the same time. Tall, and one of them was riding some kind of a vehicle too, separate from the original incident.
What's a current? Is there a current story that's happened? And by the way, people go ahead and start asking questions. Put your questions in caps, and Jeff, you chime in too here. You gotta have something burning.
Yeah, my first question is there any out of all of this data that you've gathered, is there any category of story or any type of humanoid that you find is the most consistent, that is just overwhelmingly consistent over the years?
Nowadays is from the starting in the late 70s, the gray type humanoid. I mean, there are different types. There's some that are more human-like, others are not, but they seem to be more common than any other type of humanoid.
The grays.
And also winged humanoids, starting it's just everywhere now. We've been seeing a lot of those. South America, US, Europe. But we still get different types of humanoids. Not as much anymore, I admit. Last year I was only able to collect maybe 50 reports, but I really wasn't looking that much. I know Stan Gordon, but I never worked with him. But we used to correspond, and he sent me some information. We exchanged information. That's one of the questions there I saw.
Yeah. Oh, Doug, your mic is off, Doug.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
I swear to God, I asked a question and I can't remember what it was. Getting old. It just like escaped me. Do you feel that reports are increasing now, or do you think they're decreasing, that you're getting because there's so many places they can report them? At one point, you were like the only guy.
Well, yeah, they have decreased as far as people contacting me.
Yeah.
But no, I still get reports from people or from different researchers that contact me, and we exchange information. Here's a case I got recently from Argentina that occurred last year on February 10, 2024, the city of Mar del Plata in the Buenos Aires province in Argentina. This is kind of a creepy humanoid. I have a drawing there, but this guy woke up in the middle around 4:10 and at 4 a.m. in the morning, and his name is Claudio. And he got up to go to the bathroom. He was coming back, and then he laid down on his bed, and he felt something touch his right arm. Startled, he was alone. He turned around, and he saw what he described was a strange green-colored figure. He said the creature was short, but it had his mouth open. And the creepiest thing and the scariest thing, it had like a row of sharp teeth on the top and the bottom. It was like smiling at him.
Dude.
And the teeth were like just, and he had a couple of slanted eyes, similar to the grays, but not exactly. This guy was green color. And he stood there next to the bed, and this guy attempted to get up, and suddenly he felt dizzy, started kicking his legs around, and his heart was racing. He was terrified. I would have been too. He screamed several times, but he was alone. So he finally calmed down, and all of a sudden fell asleep. He doesn't remember seeing the creature leave. But he found later in the morning, according to him, he sent me pictures. He found a triangular shaped mark on his chest and a couple of bruises, which he didn't have before. Anyway, I could send you the email of the image, so you can. I don't know if you can display it.
Sure, send it to me. Yeah.
Hold on one second. Let me do that.
Yeah, no problem.
This image, he he sent it to me. He sketched it himself. There we go. I'm sending it to you, Jeff. Okay.
Okay.
Directly.
Keep an eye out for it here.
Okay.
So we've got a question. Has Albert ever been threatened by an MIB or told to stop investigating?
I've never been threatened, but I think I have encountered possibly with MIB types, or I don't know. I remember one time I was with my father. This is in Miami again. We were at a shopping center. This is back in the 70s, which was crazy. The 70s, and we were leaving the shopping center, and there was a group of people standing around pointing in the sky, and we looked up too, and there was like three objects, like oval shaped, orange, I think, and they were far away, but you could see they were moving like in a echelon formation, like V shaped, and they were flying really fast. And wow, everybody was back then there were no cell phones, so. And then out of nowhere, this guy steps out. And he goes, that's a government secret project. Don't even bother. Don't worry about it. Just move on. And this is what he said. And this guy was an older guy, but he just came out of nowhere and said that. Like he's trying to, you got the sketch? Okay.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Were you done?
Yeah, I was done. Go ahead.
I had that sketch you sent me ready to, so here we go.
Yeah, that's what he... if you wake up in the middle of the night, you see something like that.
Nice. Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah, no.
That got my attention.
And this happened last year in Argentina.
Thanks.
Well, I don't think anything can be scarier than seeing something in your house, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're going to feel violated. And what's even creepier than something big is something small for some reason. Like
Or
a smaller entity or a smaller humanoid. Why is that creepier than a big one?
I don't know, but I wouldn't want to see any type. I seen shadow figures in my house, my different places where I lived. Yeah. I remember one time when I lived not in this house at a different location. I went to bed. I was really tired for some reason. I just went to bed early and turned the lights off. I usually left a small light on in the room because I never liked the dark that much since I was a kid. Anyway, I was laying there and I woke up and there was something hovering over me in the bed. To me, it looked like a female shadow. Female, I don't know why I thought that, but I thought it was wearing some kind of dress. Black. Some kind of design on it. I couldn't tell, but it was so dark. And that scared the heck out of me. I screamed, I grabbed my pillow and I threw it at it. Everybody came running, my wife, and it had disappeared. But I wasn't dreaming. I was wide awake when that happened. And I had a lot of instances where I had sleep paralysis, where I had felt something over me or pressing down on me. I haven't seen anything, but that's happened to me a couple times, or more than a couple times.
Nice. Somebody had asked whether you think any of these things are demonic or figures from religion, or are they just other dimensional or from another planet?
As far as
you must have come to some conclusion after all these years.
I lean to the extraterrestrial, interdimensional.
Okay.
Interdimensional more than, but as far as demonic, there's people that say, yeah, they could be demonic, they're evil, but I don't know. Because I really don't want to go too much into religion. Back in the Middle Ages, maybe they were encountered with creatures and they were, to lack of any other description, they were labeled as demons or angels.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, who's to say there's not really demons out there?
Any opinions or thoughts on the Delatov Pass incident where those mountain climbers or hikers, went out of their tent and they found them all in a very, very ugly way?
It's weird because the Dyatlov thing is not the only incident that have occurred in Russia just like that, where people had been found and hikers or groups of people have been out and then they've been. But as far as the Dyatlov, there were, there are reports saying that there were UFOs in the area, maybe a government experiment.
Some orbs, yeah.
I don't. There's even reports of what they call almas, which are the Russian Sasquatch or Bigfoot in the area. Maybe they were attacked. Maybe they saw something and they ran out. But some of the victims there were found mutilated, missing like an eye or something in the body. Not all of them. Bruised and mutilated. Some of them were found frozen. But it's just too weird. There's another case in 1978, also in Russia. I don't remember the exact place, but these guys were mostly researchers. They were on top of a mountain, and they were all in a tent. According to the one survivor, some kind of what they call what he describes as a sphere went in the tent, and every time it approached one of the guys, it emitted some kind of flash or beam, and the guy either passed out or died. He managed to roll out of the tent, and he's the only one that survived, but at least 8 others were found dead in the tent. You don't hear this incident too much because I got it from a Russian researcher from a Russian site that you're not going to be able, there's no information here in the U.S. about it. But there's the Dyatlov is not the only.
It sounds similar. It does sound similar.
Very similar, yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Jeez, I'm just like, I'm glad my garbage is already out, Albert. We took the garbage out early tonight.
I gotta take mine out tomorrow.
Yeah. Do it in the day.
Is it snowing? Is it snowing over there?
Nah, I don't know. What's it doing here, Jeff? It's cold. I know that.
Kind of cold. It snowed up north. I was up in northern Minnesota this last weekend, and we got quite a bit of snow.
Well, right now it's 75 degrees over here.
Yeah, he lives in Florida, in southern Florida, the poor guy.
It was pretty nice today, though. It was about mid-50s in the middle of the day. In the sunshine.
It was?
Yeah. Up to mid-50s. It was pretty nice.
I don't get out of the house on Wednesdays usually. Yeah. It's my day to stay home.
I think when I left work, it was like 51.
Mid-50s for us here in South Florida is cold. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Have you ever investigated the cattle mutilations at all? Does that interest you, or is that not?
I haven't per se cattle, no, but I've been involved with the incidents of domestic animals being mutilated here in Miami.
Okay.
Sweetwater, mostly goats, which is right during the chupacabra craze back in 95, 96.
Yeah.
There was a researcher here, Virgilio. He died of a heart attack watching the movie Arrival, believe it or not, in the theater.
Okay.
But anyway, we went out to a scene here in Miami, West Miami, which is near the.
So you personally went there. You personally went there.
Yeah, I did, and it's something weird. They found one of their goats, 2 holes in the neck, no blood anywhere. I saw the body of the goat. I went up to the boat. It's a white goat, small, wasn't that big, and it was so crazy because while I was looking at it, and the other couple of people came over looking at it, some green liquid started oozing out of the holes in the neck. It was in the neck area.
You saw this? Green?
Yeah. Okay. It's a green liquid. Okay. That wasn't blood. And we lost a great opportunity. This is what happened. About 5 minutes after that, we were debating what to do. What do we did get plaster cast of some kind of strange tracks in the area. But then this guy in a white pickup truck showed up, and he went up to Virgilio and he goes, "Hey, I work for the University of Miami, and we're interested in this. Can we? And we want to check one of these animals, see what could have happened. Can we take the goat with us?" And I go, "What do you think, Virgilio?" He's the one in charge. I go, "Yeah, sure, take it." The guy took the goat, and we never heard from him again. And this is what I saw. It was some kind of oozing out. It wasn't there when we got there, but when we were looking at it, started oozing out of the neck.
What color green?
Bright green.
Like fluorescent.
Almost, but it was very bright green. Really bizarre.
Like translucent. Like it was.
I don't remember it was translucent, but it was bright. Kind of bright. It wasn't.
Well, that would give me pause. The two holes there's no animal. I don't think that would do that and drink their blood, right? They were drained of blood.
They found tracks, or we found tracks of some kind of tree-toed type of bipedal creature, similar to some of the Bigfoot tracks they found with only 3 toes, but smaller. I wish we would have kept that and analyzed that green liquid, whatever it was.
Well, yeah. What year was this?
93, 94, I think 95.
Yeah, there probably wasn't much.
Between 95 and 96, yeah.
Probably wasn't a lot you could do, but if you ever find green liquid oozing out of a goat again, you might want to collect it.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, get a Q-tip out. How often do you go on, the actual to the case or to the site, the location of the sighting?
I can't, go to different, out of state or anything like that. But locally, I gone to places in which they, usually in the outskirts of Miami-Dade, outskirts of Miami, in a place called Homestead. I talked to a kid. This is back in the 90s also. He was near his barn in the evening, and he looked over the field, and there was this. He said it was a guy, a tall figure. Oh, he said it was an alien-looking guy, but he wasn't an alien like a gray. He was a human, but he was different somehow, wearing a uniform, tight-fitting, and he had a medallion around his neck, hanging down to his chest, shiny, some kind of thing. And he got frightened, and he ran to get his parents. Of course, when he came back, he was gone. But I talked to him in person. I talked to his parents. I also talked to another guy that had a farm almost at the edge of the Everglades. Now they don't let you build anything there now, thank God. But he said that one night or evening, one of his workers came running. He said, "Hey, there's some guys here," and this is these guys. What they saw were several huge. He said they were big men, blonde, wearing like tight-fitting blue coveralls or something, and they were riding what they describe as they looked like scooters, but they were going right over the grass, flying around the grass. And this guy, they grabbed they got him to one of their horses to follow them, and they said there were about 3 or 4 of them, and they flew into what they described was a huge light shaped like a saucer, right over the mangroves there, or the field or the grass, and they disappear into it, and then that thing took off and left. And this is back in the 90s also. That's when mostly I did all my field search. I was working for the police, so I didn't really have too much time for other things,
Doug, you muted. Oh, there you go.
Yep. Crazy stories.
Yeah, a lot of crazy stories that you never hear of.
Yeah. Are there any stories you can relate from like way back, like 200 years ago or farther, that you heard that sounds similar to something of modern times that you can bridge to modern times?
Let me see. Let me look at I know there have been cases mostly in Europe. There's this interesting case from let me bring it up so I could read some of it to you. Right before the start of World War II, or this occurred in Finland, where they called it Winter War, right before it.
Yeah.
And it was documented by Swedish and Finnish researchers after the war, after 1947 or the early 50s. They spoke to one of the witnesses. Anyway, here we go. I'm going to send you an image, Jeff.
Okay.
They drew an image of what they saw. Most of what they saw here. 1 second.
And then
this is in 1939.
And then after we get done with this, remember Mary Jo asked, whether you have ever taken reports near and around the Skinwalker Ranch area.
Personally, I haven't, because I'm not in that area. Personally, no.
Okay.
But I know of many reports from there, like we all do, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, this incident in Finland was investigated by a researcher from Finland, Heikki Bertinen, November 29, 1939. This is the day before what they call the Great Winter War began. And there was a 14-year-old that was in the forest with his father collecting firewood. It was around 5 p.m. in the afternoon. And it was getting twilight. They headed home. And when they were walking home in the track, and the boy noticed on the right side of the path, on a hill, a strange device or object about 3 to 4 meters in diameter. He assumed it was some kind of, he's quoting, a moonshine factory or something. So because he has seen some before in the area. His father, however, deterred him from approaching the object. He observed the device from a distance about 70 meters. He described the object as being about 3 to 4 meters, like I said, narrowing at the top, which was hidden by the dense firs of the trees. The bottom section was round, like a kettle, and was about 2.5 meters in height, supported by perhaps 3 landing legs, he described. They looked like rods, ending in triangular plates, which was, you will observe later when the object took off. From the bottom of the craft, there was a dull flame shooting out, about 1.5 meters long. And from the side of the lower section of the object, there were 5 to 6 strong flames of different colors, angle at 45 degrees down, and about 1 meter in length. And these emitted a loud noise resembling that of escaping gas. Okay, the weird part, standing outside the object was a 0.60 meter tall human-like figure, which was wearing what he described later on, what looked like an astronaut-like suit with a round helmet, which had an oval opening in the front. This figure was carrying a box. He was using apparently to direct what he described as 2 to 3 robot-like creatures nearby, which had box-like heads, and they were moving around doing some kind of task. He wasn't sure, but it wasn't possible to make out accurate details of what they were doing. His father, scared, just told him, let's leave the area. This is not something for us not to see. So they grabbed their wood and they just left. Later, at the site, when they returned, I think the next day or something, they found on the ground what they describe as a triangular mark of one of the legs, apparently. And there was also a strong, unpleasant smell in the area. Maybe like sulfur, like it's been reported many times before. This kind of report, this is 1939.
Wow.
This is before 1947, before, the flying saucer
It's funny.
era.
It's funny how close the suit looks to our current spacesuits.
Yeah.
It's interesting. And the robot looks kind of like some of the modern robots. That's weird. That's certainly weird.
Yeah, and that kind of stuff certainly wasn't in pop culture at that time. So.
No, especially that region there is kind of isolated in Finland.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool.
Jeff, question. I'm sorry, I've been hogging all the questions.
Man.
Maybe
I
I
have
asked
an interesting comment here. You said it sounds like the Ralstrom incident, but I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not either.
Ralstrom. No, is he talking about 1946 in Sweden?
I don't know.
Explain what that is.
And if you can give us some more details there.
How about smells? Do you get a lot of reports where people do report that sulfur kind of smell?
Yeah, with a lot of UFO incidents, also with Bigfoot type creatures, also same
Really?
kind of smell, and a lot of the bedroom visitation cases where you're at bed and you're suddenly paralyzed and there's a creature or a being in your room. There's a smell. It's been reported, and also the smell of ozone reported also.
That ozony electrical smell.
Right. Yeah, like burning wire or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. When was the first time ever that grays were reported? Were they reported back, like way back, or just never before the 70s?
Well, after the hypnotic regressions performed by Hopkins and others, there were people that started remembering abductions even back to the 20s or 30s or 40s, in which they reported gray-like creatures. But at that time, there were no actual reports of that were reported at the time. They were remembering through regression, hypnotic regression. Not that many, but yeah, there are a lot. Like a lot of the people that have been what they call repeater abductees. And I think most of these people that report close encounters and abductions, they're definitely been involved in other encounters. Yeah.
If ever there needed to be a TV show, it would be on your files, the Humanoid Reports. Don't you think it would be an incredible TV show?
There's so many cases that it probably lasts for a while there.
Reenacting these things with all of our, the things we can do nowadays with animation.
Yeah.
Jeff, here's a question for you. What would it take to take all 30,000 files and get them uploaded to AI to sort them into something you could get all the reports where they're wearing jewelry, all the reports where they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, AI could definitely do that. I'm not, nothing that I've done myself, but it's certainly doable. It would it would be great to get that database public access so people can somebody can figure that out.
Why don't you try with those two files I sent? See what you get. If you want me to, I can send you more files.
Yeah, I'd love to look at them.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kenny responded here. Ralstrom U.S. military base in Britain.
He's probably talking about Rendlesham.
Rendlesham Forest. I'm familiar with that one. That must be what you mean, Kenny.
Yeah, that could be what he
But I think Ralston was actually another nuclear base somewhere where they shut the nukes down.
Maelstrom. Yeah.
Maelstrom, that's where he's combining Rendlesham
and Maelstrom.
Yes, that's what happened, Kenny.
Yeah, Rendlesham was in 1980, yes.
It's stuff like that happens, Kenny, when you get older.
Yeah, Kenny just said, yep. Yeah, I know that.
Old Kenny is, but it's
Maelstrom was in 1975, I believe. It was.
Yeah, we've got some late joiners still joining chat.
It's gonna be almost 11 p.m. over here.
Yeah, well, we're gonna wind it up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Albert, and I look forward to talking to you again.
Jeff, I want to send you some more of my files. Maybe you could do something with it and see what you.
Please, thank you. Thank you very much.
back
Yeah,
on.
I'll forward that to Doug. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, Kenny goes, my 66-year-old mind. We all know about that. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not judging. I am not judging.
It starts even before then.
Yeah. I'm only 53, and I get that all the time. Yeah.
Wow.
Just such a pleasure meeting you. Thank you
Thank you.
all your years of police service too, Albert.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had more coffee. I would have stayed more awake, but I'm kind of, for some reason this morning I got up very early because the car wash guy was at the door banging on the door, and I told him you were supposed to be here at 9:30, and he shows up at 7:30. So.
Oh.
All right.
Well, we're going to get you back. Also, if you ever get some really cool report, you want to just come on and just report that one report. God, we have you on every week if you want.
Absolutely.
I would join the StreamYard, and I'll be there with you guys.
Yeah, just let us know. We can get you on.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna start sending some of my files to you guys.
Okay.
It's a lot of stuff. Okay, a lot of stuff. And
yeah.
I got images there and all of them too, corrections and updates. It's crazy.
Cool.
I don't know how I've been able to do all that.
You know, it adds up. I mean, I'm sure when you started, you never would have realized you'd have 30,000 case files.
No. I had a lot of assistance from many researchers worldwide, thank God. I mean, sending me the cases and then the books and stuff, you know, but putting them in chronological order and stuff and location.
If you wouldn't,
It's been me.
If you wouldn't have done it, Albert, nobody would have.
I mean, I don't know who. Yeah, I think you're right.
You realize
it's a valuable resource. Yeah,
important your work is. Yeah, it's very important. So with that,
appreciate it because like you said,
very much.
I have a quote from Mark Twain. I want to give everybody because it's really awesome, and this applies to you, Albert. This wisdom. It says the two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why. So there you go. Maybe that's why you were here to do this one just monumental task.
Look, like I say, at the end, we'll know all the secrets. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
With that, we'll be back next week. Thanks everybody in chat. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah. Thanks, Albert.
Feel free to my email. Anybody wants to contact me for any?
Oh yeah. Do you want that? Do you want us to tell everybody?
Yeah, sure. Give me my email.
Jeff,
okay.
Post it.
All righty.
I'll put it in the description. Sure.
Yep. So thank you, everybody. Good night. Please leave a comment, subscribe, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Can't wait till I see it. All right. Take care, guys. Bye.
I call you up in the middle of the night. Been bothered by dreams, ain't feeling alright. You give me comfort, say just give it some time. By the end of our talk, I'm feeling